Hey pack leaders, this is Healing Friends are protecting families, protecting pack, and today I want to talk about how to free yourself from the dollar. I think first step is just to understand where the dollar came from, and I think a lot of people who are already in the crypto space know what a fiat dollar is. So, so I'm kind of talking to people who are just kind of new to all this and not knowing what it is. So I would recommend a couple of videos, which is Mike Maloney, Hidden Secrets of Money. I'll put those links below, and the fractional reserve banking system. I'll put those links below. Once you watch that, then come back. You'll be like, oh, okay, I know what you're talking about. But what I would do after watching that video is to, make sure that you're able to move to a place and out of the city, basically anywhere out of the city. And of course, there's a problem with that. It's because we're all tied to a job. Most people are, right? And that's the problem. Is that when you move out of city, well, great, I'm out there, but now I have no job, no money, and you're probably starving when you're out there, right? And plus, you can't make a mortgage payment or buy a house or rent anything without that. So you're gonna have to have a transition path. Okay. Now, whenever you trade time for money, you're always gonna be, in a sense, pigeonholed or stuck because you come home tired at the end of the day, 9 to 5, and let alone try to build something and try to figure it all out. It's just it's such a huge amount of force going against you, and you have a family, kids, and everything. It's like, man, all you want to do is just work, family, and go to bed and do it again over and over again. And to build something extra is just tough. Okay. But what I would do if I had to start all over again and I had the nice paying engineering job, and I was saving lots of money, but then when I was saving, I just didn't know what to do with it. I was like, okay, cool, money's coming in, still got the job, I'm comfortable, and where do I start? So what I would do is, definitely still learn, educate yourself alongside within those drives to work. You have plenty of time to learn and grow through the videos that you watch and through who you want to follow. Then delve more into it, invest in it, purchase their course, and learn more about that. And then what I would do now is to make sure that after you learn about it and you want to implement it, is to also train up a virtual assistant, someone overseas who's that you can pick up for $3 an hour or something like that, while you're getting paid 30, $40 an hour. Have them work in your business full time and have them build something for you. Well, because your main, you're more valuable at your job than building your own business. And plus, you don't want to be a component in your business. You want to be building a system, so that once you put the pieces and parts together, there's so many parts to it, it'll burn you out. Which is why a lot of people don't really make it in business, and it is tough. I must give that to you, but that's the only way to really free yourself. And as you build that up, then you can then use that money to as an income source to transition too, so that once you move into the world place, you still have some kind of online income, and it's to build an online business really. So with that, you can have trade off a tenth of your time that you're getting paid more at 30, $40 an hour for $3 an hour to build your business full time, and you kind of lay out a plan of what you want to do, whether it be building a software, launching merchandise, going to Amazon, setting up eBay stuff, creative writing stuff, video, whatever, Photoshop, whatever service that you want to put together, you are expertise at. You basically train your team up with what you know, and then as they fail, you find and retweak the system to, in a sense, recreate as much as you can of your quality. Probably 98% or whatever, 95%, the best that you can do. So it's like a system chop shop, and you can then start to, grow that business. Okay. Now, for me, it's I think our bread and butter was the Amazon. We used to launch rings on t-shirts on Facebook, but after a while, yeah, you're battling the ads. As more people come on, it gets more competitive. You get less and less engagement, and of course your ads goes up, all this other stuff, and it gets harder and harder. So, but after a while, physical products I know always goes up in price because inflation is behind that. And as prices go up, your margins go down. And what you gotta do, you gotta raise your prices up too, and just everything just starts going up and up. So it's just like a chasing game to kind of constantly raise things up. So I like to move something more digital, whether it be education, training, software, and in a sense where there's a subscription behind it, so that there's always that consistent income coming in. Okay, so right now I currently do bots. That's kind of the thing right there where I can program, I can get things going. Eventually, I can hire a programmer to continue with that and create more bots over time. And in some other areas where bots are needed, whether it be real estate, MLS searching. I'll probably be doing bots with tax deed investing too when I get to move to Texas. I know there's going to be a need for filtering through lots of properties and APN parcel numbers, and we have to make sure that there's properties on there. So I know that I can use that skill for something else, and also share that with other people too if they are also interested in tax deeds. Also find investors to also invest in tax deeds while I secure these opportunities down the line. Okay, so these are just avenues that you haven't heard of, like, hey, what are tax deeds and tax liens, and where you can buy a property just by paying off your tax deeds, and they redeem, then you get 25% return on your money. Okay, so those are opportunities there too. Okay, and so so while you're having that job, you need to learn and educate yourself. You got that job because you gave yourself some education, right? And you're able to do that job that you're getting paid $30-40 an hour, right? Which is only like only $30 more than a $10 minimum wage person, right? After who knows how many years of college, 4 years of college, and 50 to 100K in debt, kind of thing. So nowadays, I feel like college education is not worth the investment nowadays, because you're giving so much money in loans, which is then inflating the tuition price. So the students you're after always pay higher tuition, but then with the same salary that once they come out of work, and plus you can't forgive that debt, you can't go into bankruptcy, so you're pretty much stuck with it, perpetually what's called lifetime enslavement to that school loan, right? So yeah, so talk about that. Like, so then the next thing is then you want to have some kind of paid off home somewhere, and of course homes here are way overinflated. I would not want to get into any of these because it's just you can't really pay it off when you're working your job. Okay, so you have to be an investor to grow up faster. If you do get into it, yes, get into it, get the equity, get it, pull it out, and then use that equity to go buy something out of state that's way cheaper and pay it off. Be done with it. But also, I would recommend not just buying your own home, but buying an income source. So even when you buy a home, rent it out and use that rental income to then pay for your current rent, and you're living there for free. But in a sense, if you live in the home yourself, well, you're paying the property taxes, you're paying everything that's in it, and you're not even making a profit. It's just a liability if you live in it yourself. Of course, I know you might have some transition time. I'm living in my house, of course, and working on transition to another. So for me, since I have a business, in a sense, that's kind of my income and my fallback. I know that my incomes are, my expenses are a lot less with that. We'll probably be renting some rooms too, or maybe buying an RV and renting the RV as an Airbnb, and also renting an RV as an RV, which in a sense I can pick up one for 10-15,000 within 2 months of trips. It'll pay itself off, and then I might start an RV rental business. I don't know. That's probably another avenue or income source to look into. Okay. And then there's things where you can buy land and rent out the land out as for people who want campsites. That's another opportunity there that I didn't notice that was available too. You have an extra car to rent it on Turo for like $30 a day. I was doing that, planning like maybe $400-600 a month, just renting a car that I wasn't using. So you can buy a car for cheap. Hey, then maybe within 5 months it'll pay itself off, right? And then you can rent that out, rent as many cars out, and then just now you have repairs to deal with, or maintenance. So there's just some other opportunities there where they're out there. You just have to find them. I do like the RV because you get the return on your money within 2 months rather than with a car of 5 months, right? but that's if you can rent it, right? So those are some issues there that I've noticed. And then growing your own food. So we're gonna be learning how to garden with I believe it's called the back to Eden method, where God does have sprinklers out there, and um, watering their plants. So there's a way that to kind of keep the ground covered with wood chips that retains the moisture, and as long as the soil maintains nice and moist and doesn't evaporate the sun, evaporating the water, the soil becomes richer and richer, and more decomposing stuff starts to accumulate and kind of just build more richness in the soil. So each year you get more and more yield, and you can grow your own food. You don't have to use dollars to go buy groceries and food anymore, and plus you eat healthier. You're eating organic food, and you're not eating processed food. Okay. Not only that, I plan on kind of doing like a natural cycle where there's trees around, there's cover, there's all kinds of fruits and berries and whatever, and then we'll have our own gardens where the place that looks like more of a forest or a jungle, I'm sure the animals like to hide in there. And you need some meat, then I'm sure they're gonna be hiding over there rather than out in the open. So you can go in there and hunt, and you have a meat source also, right? So those are some of the ideas that I have, and also being able to live near a river, to be able to use the river as a hydro plant to generate electricity, to then pump water and use the water as like the fish waste water into your gardens, and then it kind of brings it in kind of like aquaponics, and water your plants that way too. Okay. Having your own water well will be another good thing to have, because I think as resources get tight, you're gonna need that water, and water could get pretty expensive. Think about Venezuela. When they run out of water, they're kind of like going through sewers and drainage just to pick up water, just so they can shower or even drink, and those are times that could be pretty tough. So having a reverse osmosis with a pump to bring in any kind of water, filter it, and then bring it into drinking water, be able to have UV light to process that, would be amazing. Okay. And I have some other ideas about maybe generating our own biodiesel with plants that produce high yield of oils, and then using that to power a diesel engine. Okay. With gas prices going up higher and higher, reaching $4 to $5, and limiting that's your second biggest expense, is your fuel expense and your living expense, right? So if you can take care of your living expenses by with a paid off home, or an income source that would pay for the home that you're in or renting or whatever it is, that would be ideal. So most likely we will probably buy a second house, and then using the income from the rental property that's paid off to pay for the next house we do get into. Okay. And just kind of just generating like the cash flow, just renting them out. Okay. And then so having that pay off the other house would be ideal. So I think most likely it would make sense to move rather than stay in our own house, paying our own bills and our own property taxes. Why not have the tenant? So what we'll probably do is do like this thing called a seller finance deal, where you become the bank, and you can then, because it's seller finance, they don't have conventional financing, they're willing to pay a higher interest rate, and also put a higher down payment so they can get in, right? And plus they might be able to pay a higher value, because you kind of create that value out of thin air in a sense. So even though it's maybe worth $200,000, they might be willing to pay $250,000 for it. So you create $50K out of thin air. Plus they're paying interest on that. Plus you're the bank, and plus you're paying higher interest rates, right? And there's times where people will willing to do that, where they have the cash flow but they don't have the credit to get the house, right? But if you keep your interest low, then you might be the bank for a longer term or longer period. Okay. And you think about it, when you're the banker, that's the thing about having mortgage. Like the first half of your mortgage is all interest, which is by the time you pay the full 30 years, you're paying 2 times the house. And the first half is all interest, and the other half is then your equity. But then you might think that your equity is growing. I don't know. We won't go into that later, but it actually just went to the bank. Really, you're paying 2 times the house, right? I don't know. So that's just my take on it. And then just living off the land, be on the hunt, and then kind of teaching our kids the same way to build assets, look for building assets, buying assets, and using that money to invest in things that will produce more income. Okay, so in anything we do, we buy things from Amazon. We buy it, we create a video, and then put an affiliate link on there. So these are all materials that you need to create your business in a sense. But you buy them anyway, right? But why not create a way where you can turn it into a business expense? Even when we travel, we have to find ways. Hey, if I go here, how can I make this into business? And there's also some caveats where you have to make this a regular business activity, okay, and document it. If you don't do this on a regular basis, then it's not really a business expense. It's just more like, hey, I want to go to Disneyland, and yeah. But if you went to Disneyland every single day or every week for some kind of business purpose of creating whatever that you create, maybe you have to do video reviews. People want to do each roller coaster and go back and take more shots and blah blah blah, and that is your business and you're actually generating income from it. Then yes, you know. So of course, not, you know, do what you can and go from there. So, any questions? Let me know. Hopefully, this has kind of generated some ideas about you know, finding ways to get off the dollar, and that way you can kind of, in a sense, free yourself. The more you kind of get into the system, the more you feel trapped. The more you feel like you can't get out of it. The more dependent you are, and you can see the bills just stack up. The interest rates from credit cards stack up. Rising prices from gas, food, mortgage stack up. And then if an emergency happens, you know, that's it. You're kind of done, right? So eventually everyone's just gonna stop and just give up and say, hey, you know, I can't do this anymore. We're just gonna go back to socialism, you know, depending on whatever kind of thing, right? So eventually we're all gonna get tired. As inflation goes, it steals from it steals from everyone, really. So you have to work harder to earn and get the same thing, right? Each and every year as it gets more and more expensive, and your salary's not keeping up with that. Okay. All right, that's all I have for today. Hopefully this video helps. I'm gonna be talking about more on just life, you know, what I'm doing. We're gonna be moving to Texas pretty soon, and kind of just going through that. Rental cars, what I'm looking at. Looking to purchase an RV. And why I'm purchasing an RV. I feel like an RV is the only thing that you actually own in a sense, but in California you get taxed on that too for personal property taxes. And I think in certain states like Texas, they don't have personal property taxes, or where you have to pay a licensing or something like that every year, and it's just more like a home that you actually own. But I'm gonna show you how to maybe turn that into an income source. Okay. So talk to you then. Thanks for watching. And leave your questions below. Subscribe if you want to follow me, and put your questions, and I could help you create my next video here. Thanks.